This is the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Welcome to the Diamond Hogs Podcast. I'm your host, Mason Choate, joined by my co-host, as always, Robert Stewart. No producer Christian on this because he couldn't make the trip to Hoover with us. Didn't really make sense, but we just got back from the Hoover Met. We're in the hotel room. If you're watching on the YouTube, it looks a little different. It's not our normal studio. And first of all, it's been a long 24 hours. Not only because of rain, but because I drove. You got to fly. Congratulations. And Arkansas lost to Bama again. 3 straight losses to Alabama. So they lose 4-3 in Hoover. And, I mean, you mentioned it. You're writing your post-game story for the Arkansas Traveler. And you're like, my lead's going to be the Michael Turner throw down a third. What inning was that?
It was in the fourth.
In the fourth, it's like Arkansas loses 4-3. That gave up a run, and it didn't have to. And now Arkansas's in the losers bracket. They lost to Bama 3 games in a row, and they're supposed to be fighting for a regional host. And I think that might have locked up. They're not going to host a regional unless they go and win the whole dang thing.
They may have to win the tournament at this point. I mean, yeah, the Turner play at third, that's a throw that doesn't have to get made. The first 4 innings, it looked like it was going to be the same story as we saw the last couple of games against the Crimson Tide. Pitching and defense, subpar. Will McIntyre didn't really have it Wednesday afternoon, but, the bullpen was really good all in all. No earned runs among 3 different guys, but, I mean, the story of the game as far as lapses go was the Arkansas hitting. I mean, 5 total hits, never more than 1 in any given inning, so... Bats are going to have to pick it up if they're going to make some noise down here in Hoover.
Yeah, and before we get to our recap of the game, this is a post-game recap episode. It's all it is. It's not our full podcast. Before we get to all that, I want to remind you about Matt Morris State Farm. You might know that University of Arkansas alum and State Farm agent Matt Morris has great service. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates too? Yes, that is right. Along with good neighbor service, State Farm agent Matt Morris has surprisingly great rates for everyone, not only in the Central Arkansas area, but in all of Hog Country. So call State Farm agent and U of A alum Matt Morris at 501-568-3222 for your surprisingly great rates today. I didn't have to worry about the drive because I knew I was fully covered by State Farm. And I knew as long as I drive safe, I'm going to be getting a discount. I already got my good grades, so I get that discount because I'm a student still. And I knew that if anything was to happen, I'm covered by State Farm. I don't have to worry about it. They take care of it. And Matt Morris, State Farm, can take care of that for you as well if you call him at 501-568-3222. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
And if you have any landscape maintenance needs in the Central Arkansas area, then look no further than Southern Lawn Service. They specialize in that for apartment complex communities and industrial sites, and they've got landscape projects for residential and commercial locations of all sizes. If you need drainage solutions, new installs, landscape remodel or design, hardscapes such as retaining walls or paver patios, then Southern Lawn Service is where you need to go. If you need bulk landscape supplies, you can hit them up as well. Mulch, dirt, gravel, landscape rock, sod, all of the above, they've got it and more. They're located at 1 Lee Road in Conway, Arkansas. You can go see them on site or give them a call. Their number is 501-514-3463.
Okay, so let's get into this Arkansas-Alabama game. Robert, normally I do the first, the first takeaways, but I'm going to let you do it because I just want to let you do it.
Well, I mean, I said it in the open, right? The bats were gone pretty much. We sat and listened to the Alabama press conference. That was the first time we've listened to the opponents, I think, all year. It was really just solo home runs. I mean, the Hogs scored 3 times. There was the Jalen Battles home run. There was the Chris Lanzilli home run that scored Brady Slavens also. But Brady Slavens, we didn't see this. We were getting food. But he reached on a drop third strike. So, I mean, Brad Bohannon, the head coach, obviously was like, we probably should have had that shouldn't have been a base runner. Should have been a solo shot for Chris Lanzilli. Only should have been 2 runs. They just couldn't string hits together. How many times have we said that this year? It's a recurring problem.
Yeah, no, I want to say this. I feel like we've held out on this baseball team for a while now, just thinking they're gonna hit that point where they start to go on a run. We still haven't seen it yet, and I still don't want to say that it's not going to happen because I think back to Mississippi State last year. They go 0 for 2, back-to-back run rules in the SEC tournament. So this tournament is not the end-all, be-all. Arkansas still won 38 games. Still a talented baseball team. Brad Bohannon said it himself. He thinks they're a top 10 team. And I don't think that he was just being like that nice coach by saying that either. I felt like he was genuine when he said that.
Right, and he gave it some perspective too. He was like, I mean, you're thinking about the last 7 days, right? They've played each other 4 times. Arkansas and Alabama played each other 4 times. Arkansas is not playing its best baseball. Think about it. Think about the larger picture. He was like, Brady Tigert comes to mind, but Arkansas has a lot of good back end bullpen pieces that if you're looking from afar like Bohannon, you're gonna have nothing but good things to say, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. And Chris Lanzilli mentioned it too, right? It was like, we know we're talented. We just got to get out of our own heads.
Yeah. I think it's tough. I mean, we haven't even mentioned the story of the day. Dave Van Horn didn't even coach the team.
Right.
I feel like I don't know how we got this far. Because a lot happened between then and now. But we were sitting there watching Auburn, Kentucky. Everything's fine in the world. We're just chilling, watching some baseball. And then
9th inning rolls around, and boom, biggest news since.
Phil Elson says on the pregame radio, Dave Van Horn's not going to coach the team. He's okay, but he's at home resting or whatever. I don't know if he's at home.
The statement said he's not feeling well.
Yeah,
resting comfortably.
Resting comfortably, that's what it is. But it's just, I mean, like, the SHIT hit the fan, and from that moment to basically the moment that the Razorback baseball game started, it's like we were pumping out content like this. Dave Van Horn's not coaching. Here's what's going to happen. We were told by a representative, Nate Thompson's going to coach the hitters, Matt Hobbs going to coach the pitchers, and it's like, okay, thanks. Like, that's what they do every game. We want to know who the interim head coach is, and it ended up being Matt Hobbs, which is what we expected.
He delivered the lineups. He spoke after the game. Yeah, he speaks really fast. I don't know if anybody's ever heard him talk before, but holy shnikes, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, we live tweet post game press conferences, and I didn't get anything accurate from what he said. I don't think I tweeted a Hobbs quote. I also do updates on the trough over at HawgBeat.com, which is where you can find us. Also on hitthatline.com, hitthatline.com. Type in Hit That Line AR on Twitter, or type in Hit That Line wherever you get your podcasts, and you can listen to the Diamond Hawks podcast. But yeah, Matt Hobbs talks really fast.
Also, one of his big takeaways, one of my big takeaways from his press conference is that we know the next starting pitcher will be Connor Noland, Hagen Smith, or Jackson Wiggins.
Yeah, couldn't have guessed that one, Matt. Thank you.
That was really insightful.
But let's talk about this game, because Arkansas is at the point now where you can say this team lives by the home run and dies by the home run.
Yes.
That is no longer a sample size of like just the Ole Miss series, because that was a big thing after the Ole Miss series. That is now like that's what this team does. And prior to the past few weeks, that was okay because you counted on your pitching being good and you could hit those home runs and that would be enough. Now, and even in this game, the pitching was good. That was the thing about this game was it was the mistakes. The 2 errors for Arkansas is really just what cost them the game. Yeah,
2 errors turned into 2 unearned runs. I mean, I didn't ever see a replay of the fielder's choice that was, I think, scored originally. I don't know if it's changed, but scored a throwing error on Robert Moore. A lot of people were saying it should have been a fielding error charged to Stovall, but that was big. That made it 2-0. It only should have been 1 run right there. Turned into 2. And then, like we talked about earlier, the Turner back pick on strike 2 with 2 outs. Why does that ball need to get thrown to third? It doesn't.
But I also look at it from a perspective of Arkansas held Alabama scoreless from the 5th inning on.
Exactly. And I mean, it feels like in that stretch pretty early on, in the beginning of the bottom of the 6th, Chris Lanzilli hit that home run. It's like, okay, they can take the momentum here. Also, in the top of the 5th, when Lanzilli threw Drew Williamson out at home, the shallow fly ball.
Yeah.
Double play.
That was a huge momentum shifter, and you felt like, okay, this is what Arkansas needs. They needed a play like that. That was a play where you talked about the Michael Turner, the throw that he had down to third that didn't work out. This play where Lanzilli throws it home, Michael Turner guards home plate and knocks the guy over, gets him out,
was a very athletic play on Turner's part.
It was, and it felt like not only was that, I tweeted this out, not only was that what Turner needed for his confidence, that's what the team needed. And I just feel like this team, a lot of people on the HawgBeat message board, they were saying that this team, we couldn't see because we were in the press box, but every time they showed the dugout after like a big play or a home run, like they were just like, they weren't happy or excited or they weren't cheering or anything. And I think part of that comes with Dave Van Horn. You know, he coaches an all business program. Like they're all business. But at some point, you need to be able to enjoy what you're doing. You know, you don't want to be so serious all the time and almost act like you're not enjoying what you're doing. And I don't know how much Dave Van Horn not being there affected them. I think Chris Lanzilli did say maybe it did affect us. And so if you're even questioning that, then I think it probably did. Dave Van Horn's not there, and they didn't know until when they got there, or before they left. We don't know the exact timeline, but we know it was before the game at some point.
Right. It was our understanding. Like we saw them pull up to the ballpark, and then we got the news about Dave Van Horn.
Yeah.
So, I assumed they knew coming to the ballpark that he wouldn't be joining them, but
I think they were in the dark because I texted a few sources, people close to the team. And I don't think anybody knew what was going on, and nobody knows what happened to Dave Van Horn. I hope the man is okay, and from what we heard, he's resting comfortably. He just didn't feel good, but it's a little odd because if it is just like a stomach bug, that's not really something that you would think Dave Van Horn would miss a game for. So that just automatically makes me think, well, is it something more serious? And I hope. For goodness sakes, I hope not. But I just hope everything's okay with him. You know.
Of course. What else can you say?
Yeah, but let's get back to the game. I mentioned I said it before you went there, but those last 5, 6, 7th, 8th, 9th innings, you had great pitching from Morris, Ramage, and Taylor. From between Morris, Ramage, and Taylor, you gave up 2 hits in one unearned run, and it was the Turner one. So that's just – they gave you a chance to win the game, and they just couldn't do it.
They absolutely did give the Hogs a chance to win the game. I'm looking at it right now. They scored – it felt like they kept giving it to him, right? We talked about the strike 3 that Brady Slavens reached on, and then Lanzilli 3 pitches later made him pay for it. So you've got 12 outs to work with at that point. You're down 1 run, and you just hit a mammoth home run.
Yeah.
And you muster 1 hit across the next 4 innings.
I don't know why this team can't hit in situations like that. Like, I feel like late game situations, this team has just not hit the ball. The one time I think that they have hit the ball was the Kendall Diggs home run against, was that Ole Miss, right? That's the first thing that comes to my mind, and that's really the only thing that comes to my mind. Do you remember another time late in game?
Well, Auburn, Robert Moore and Kendall Diggs both.
Yeah, but I'm talking like late in game, like 8th, 9th inning when you need it.
Like as late as it gets.
Yeah.
There haven't been the dramatic, comeback wins like we saw a lot in 2021. There haven't been that many walk-offs. Has there been more than the one Kendall Diggs home run? I don't think so.
Yeah.
They're not getting it done in the 8th and the 9th, and it's hard to pin it on that, right? Like another game that comes to mind is Texas A&M, right? When Dylan Leach had that pinch hit and then they struck out twice, looking maybe.
Yeah, those were some bad calls though.
Well, sure, but at the end of the day, what's Dave Van Horn gonna say? Find a way. They didn't find a way.
Yeah.
I talked about it a lot early in the year. I feel like there's not really a need to panic because you are finding ways to win, but lately they're not. And so now I think it's justified.
Yeah.
All the panic, not the hate, but the panic.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the reasoning for people like ourselves who did not panic early on was because I think even to this moment right now, you can still say there's a lot of baseball to be played. And so, yes, you can panic. I think with this team, I mean, after tonight's game against Alabama, I'm looking at this team and I'm like, I don't know if I can go into a game the rest of this season, no matter who they're playing, and confidently think they're going to win a ball game. So let's get to a couple of listener questions before we wrap up because we don't want to make this too long of an episode. This is from David Hubbard, at @DavidM_Hubbard on Twitter. Are you worried? Would you rather see A&M or Florida? Who gets the call to the mound tomorrow?
I think I'd probably rather see Florida because, I mean, we know that Hunter Barco's done, right? He pitched pretty well against Arkansas. Brandon Sproat pitched really well against Arkansas. He threw 8 1/3 innings against South Carolina Tuesday night. You're not going to see Brandon Sproat. You're not going to see Hunter Barco. If the bats are going to wake up, surely one of the other Florida pitchers not named Barco and Sproat.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a good opportunity to me. I don't know. I mean, unless they're facing one of the dudes that collapsed late against or in the A&M series, then I think it's Florida. I mean, at this point, it's anything to wake the bats up.
Yeah, I think Florida barely beat South Carolina, who is, I think, worse than Alabama. So, as far as record goes.
Well, Bama's the 11th seed.
Yeah, but...
Oh, overall, yeah, South Carolina may be under 500,
They
honestly.
were 27-28, I think.
Yeah.
So, I think Florida is the right answer. As far as who gets the call to the mound, we mentioned it earlier.
Could be one of 3 guys.
Could be one of 3 guys. I would have to think they're going to throw Noland.
Yeah, I mean, he's your most senior guy. Your back's against the wall at this point. I mean, not on the season, but you want to keep playing in Hoover because you want to get back to Fayetteville. You know, we were talking about this on the way out to the car. It was like when we left after the Vanderbilt series, we did not think that could possibly be the last time we left Baum.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, it's looking like that right now. So, you got to trust your veteran guy, and that's Connor Noland.
Yep. Last question here from Tim Rose now, I think is how you say it. It's at TRoseBBC on Twitter. Mason, my question is, what happened on the strikeout when Turner doesn't get the second out, but instead goes to third, which ultimately results in disaster? Did he get distracted by the runner going to third? Seemed like he was confused on what the call was. Home plate up was a joke.
That was another one I didn't see a replay on. I think you and I both assumed that he had made the tag and then was going to try to turn a double play.
I just, as I was watching that play, I didn't even know Turner dropped the strike.
I thought he had swung.
That's why I was so confused when there was a runner on second, because I was like, he struck out. I didn't know that Turner dropped the third strike, and so that, for me, that's the way I saw it. Neither one of us saw a replay, so I only know what I saw in real time, and that's why I was confused. But I think we got a good explanation. Like, we know what happened. He dropped it. He didn't throw it to first and take the out. He threw it to third, and the Will McIntyre didn't make the tag.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have a fielder at third base, that tag probably gets made.
Yeah.
Maybe Will McIntyre is just not used to that kind of play. I mean, it's unusual. Why would you practice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you go at the runner like that, you got to make sure that out gets recorded. And it was, I mean, did it end up costing him? I forget. Yeah, it did. Right? Because, gosh, where was it? No. It was in the third. And then there was that fly ball that Caden Wallace had to run a long way to get. He opted to catch it rather than let it drop for a strike. And then the guy tagged up to make it 3-0.
Yeah.
So it did cost them.
Okay. I think that's going to wrap up this episode. Arkansas loses to Alabama 4-3.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. They get the loser of Texas A&M and Florida. That game is supposed to be the first one on Thursday. Who knows when it'll be? A lot of rain in the forecast in Hoover. And then again, who knows when the losers bracket game will be. So stay
Yep.
tuned.
I think as of now, you said it. Arkansas is fourth. The Arkansas versus loser of A&M Florida. That game is fourth in line to be played, right? There's 3 more games that have to be played before that one. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's not a big deal because I really don't think it's going to get played on Thursday either way. Like, it's probably going to be played on Friday. He's doing the math in his head. This is bad radio.
Okay. Yep. Fourth in line.
Okay. Okay. So, realistically, we can't give you an answer right now when they're going to play. Just follow us on Twitter at Choate Mason at drstu32. And we will talk to you guys whenever Arkansas plays their next game because we're going to recap it. All right. Talk to y'all then.
You've been listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Choate Mason and at drstu32.